The stars above Nevada's desert shimmered like scattered diamonds on black velvet when humanity's destiny changed forever. Dr. Sarah Chen stood beside her array of radio telescopes, their massive dishes pointed skyward. When the first signal came, it wasn't the usual background radiation or random cosmic noise. This was different, structured, intentional. Director Matthews, she called out, her fingers flying across the keyboard. You need to see this. The aging director of the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence Institute hurried across the control room, his coffee forgotten on his desk. The pattern on Sarah's screen pulsed with an unmistakable rhythm. Prime numbers, repeated in perfect sequence. My God, Matthews whispered, it's really happening. Within hours, every major observatory on Earth confirmed the signal. The Aetherian ships appeared 3 days later. Sleek vessels that resembled liquid mercury, sliding into Earth orbit with impossible grace. Their arrival changed everything, but not in the way anyone expected. The Aetherians were refugees, scientists, and philosophers. Their civilization had achieved technological marvels through peaceful cooperation rather than competition or conflict. They shared their knowledge freely, medical breakthroughs that cured diseases, clean energy technology that could power cities without harming the environment, and insights into the universe that revolutionized human understanding of physics. For 5 years, the partnership flourished. Humanity took its first steps into interstellar travel, establishing colonies on Mars and beginning construction of their first faster-than-light vessel. The Aetherians found a new home on Earth, their silver-skinned forms becoming a common sight in universities, research centers, and spaceports. But peace, as humanity had learned countless times throughout its own history, was fragile. The warning came on a quiet Tuesday evening at United Earth Defense Command headquarters in Geneva. Commander Jason Rodriguez was reviewing colony defense protocols when his holographic display flickered and changed. The face that appeared was familiar. Ambassador Lyra, the Aetherian representative to the United Earth Council. Her usual silvery complexion had dulled to ash gray, and her luminescent eyes flickered with fear. Commander Rodriguez, please, we need help. They found us. Ambassador, what's wrong? Who found you? The Drakari Empire. Lyra's voice trembled. We thought we'd hidden our presence here well enough, but they tracked us. They're coming, Commander. Our long-range sensors detected their war fleet entering the Orion Arm. They'll reach Earth in less than 2 months. Rodriguez felt his blood run cold. The Aetherians had mentioned the Drakari before, a species that believed in absolute dominion over all other life forms. They had driven the Aetherians from their homeworld centuries ago, hunting them across the galaxy. How many ships? He asked, already knowing he wouldn't like the answer. Over 300 warships, each carrying enough firepower to level a continent. They're not just coming for us this time, Commander. They've seen what humanity has achieved with our help. They'll destroy everything. Rodriguez immediately initiated emergency protocols, but his mind was already racing through the implications. Earth's combined space fleet numbered barely 50 ships, most of them retrofitted civilian vessels. The few true warships they possessed were designed for colonial defense, not full-scale space warfare. We'll convene an emergency session of the United Earth Council, he assured Lyra. We'll figure something out. Commander, Lyra's voice dropped to a whisper. Many of your people will say you should surrender us to save yourselves. The Drakari might even offer terms, but you need to understand, they never honor agreements. They see cooperation between species as a contamination that must be purged. Even if you gave us up, they would still come for Earth eventually. Rodriguez straightened in his chair. Ambassador, in all of human history, we've learned one important lesson. Tyrants only grow stronger when good people give in to fear. We're not going to abandon our friends. The emergency session convened within hours. Representatives from every nation gathered in Geneva's Grand Assembly Hall, their faces grim as they reviewed the sensor data. Dr. Sarah Chen, now Earth's leading expert on Aetherian technology, presented her analysis. The Drakari ships use a form of quantum-locked dark matter for both weapons and shields, she explained. Based on what we know of their technology, they can shred our current defenses like paper. Traditional military tactics won't work. Then we surrender, the Chinese representative suggested. Buy time to prepare better defenses. No, Sarah's voice was firm. The Aetherians tried that once. The Drakari took their surrender as permission to experiment on their population, trying to understand how their biology enabled such advanced intellectual capabilities. Billions died in laboratories. The assembly fell silent. Rodriguez stood up, his decision already made. The Aetherians came to us seeking peace. They shared their knowledge freely, asked for nothing in return except friendship. They trusted us when other advanced species dismissed humanity as primitive or dangerous. Now they need our help. He activated the main display, showing Earth's combined military assets. We may be outgunned, but humanity has never let that stop us before. We've faced impossible odds throughout our history, and we've survived through innovation, determination, and courage. What do you propose? The Russian representative asked. Something the Drakari won't expect. Rodriguez smiled grimly. They think they're hunting helpless prey. Let's show them what happens when you corner a species that clawed its way up from the bottom of the food chain. Humanity didn't get to the stars by giving up when things got tough. The debate raged for hours, but in the end, the vote was unanimous. Earth would stand with the Aetherians, whatever the cost. As the assembly dispersed to begin preparations, Ambassador Lyra approached Rodriguez. Why? She asked simply. Your people could save themselves. Why risk everything for us? Rodriguez thought about humanity's long, violent history, all the times they'd fought against oppression, all the lessons learned in blood and courage. Because that's what friends do, he answered. And because if we don't stand against tyranny now, who will? In orbit above Earth, the first preparations began. Civilian ships were retrofitted with weapons, colonial defense platforms were upgraded with experimental technology, and every nation pooled their resources and expertise. They had 2 months to prepare for an enemy that had conquered countless worlds. But as Sarah Chen watched humanity mobilize, she felt something she hadn't expected. Hope. The Drakari thought they were facing a primitive species and a handful of refugees. They were about to learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their weapons or technology. It was their absolute refusal to abandon their friends. The stars above Nevada's desert still shimmered like diamonds, but now they held a warning. The Drakari were coming, bringing death and enslavement. But this time, their prey wasn't running. This time, humanity was standing their ground. That's insane enough to actually work. Admiral Helena Santos leaned back in her chair, studying the holographic display in United Earth Defense Command's strategic planning room. Dr. Sarah Chen stood beside her latest creation, a hybrid of human and Aetherian technology that defied conventional physics. The Drakari rely on quantum-locked shields, Sarah explained, manipulating the hologram to show the internal workings of her device. They've never faced an opponent who could exploit quantum uncertainty at a macro level. We can't overpower them, but we might be able to outsmart them. Commander Rodriguez stepped closer to the display, his eyes narrowing. Walk me through it again. In simple terms, we're going to weaponize probability. Sarah's eyes gleamed with the fever of discovery. The Aetherians taught us how to manipulate quantum states, but they always used it for peaceful purposes. Medical scanning, energy production. We're going to use it differently. The hologram showed a standard Earth destroyer, now modified with arrays of what looked like crystalline formations along its hull. These quantum resonators will create a field of pure probability chaos around our ships. When Drakari weapons hit it, they'll have to resolve multiple quantum states simultaneously. Their own shields work on similar principles. They'll try to adapt, but they'll be fighting themselves. Helena finished. Their shields will try to quantum lock against an inherently uncertain state. Exactly. It won't destroy them, but it should create windows of vulnerability. Small ones, but Small is all we need. Rodriguez activated another display, showing Earth's combined fleet. We've got every shipyard working around the clock. 37 days until the Dracari arrive. How many ships can we outfit with this technology? Sarah grimaced. Maybe 60. We're limited by the amount of quantum crystal we can grow, and we need the Etherians' help to properly attune each array. It'll have to be enough. Helena stood, her expression grim. But we need more than just defensive technology. The Dracari have conquered hundreds of worlds. They're not going to be stopped by one clever trick. That's where this comes in. Rodriguez gestured, and a new hologram appeared. A massive satellite network surrounding Earth. Project Darkstorm. While the Aetherians have been helping us with quantum physics, we've been teaching them something humanity excels at: electronic warfare. The display showed waves of data flowing through the satellite network. The Dracari use quantum entanglement for instantaneous communication between their ships. It's elegant, efficient, and completely dependent on precise quantum states. If we can introduce enough noise into their network, we can blind them. Helena breathed. Turn their greatest strength into a weakness. More than that. Sarah stepped forward. Ambassador Lyra's people have been analyzing the Dracari communication protocols. They're hierarchical. Every tactical decision has to be approved by their command ships. If we can disrupt their network, their fleet will be chaos. Rodriguez smiled grimly. But we have to assume they'll adapt quickly. We'll only get one shot at this. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Earth's entire defense strategy would rely on surprising an enemy that had been waging interstellar war for centuries. One mistake, one miscalculation, and humanity would join the long list of civilizations the Dracari had erased from existence. There's something else you should see. Sarah's voice was quieter now. She brought up a new display. Medical data from the Etherian refugees. The Dracari hunting has taken its toll. The constant stress, the genetic damage from their weapons, the Etherian birth rate has fallen to almost zero. Even if we win this battle, without help, they'll be extinct within a generation. Rodriguez studied the data, his jaw tightening. You have an idea? Yes, but you're not going to like it. Sarah took a deep breath. We can use the quantum resonator technology differently. Instead of creating chaos, we could use it to stabilize their genetic structure. But the process would require enormous amounts of energy. And what? And human DNA. Our genetic structure is remarkably adaptable. It's one of the reasons we survived our own planet's countless extinction events. If we could merge certain aspects of human genetic resilience with Aetherian biology. You're talking about changing their species at a fundamental level. Helena interrupted. Creating a hybrid race. I'm talking about saving them. Sarah's voice was firm. But it would mean connecting our species permanently. The children of such a merger wouldn't be purely Aetherian anymore. They'd be something new. Rodriguez walked to the window, looking out at the Geneva skyline. Somewhere up there, the Dracari fleet was approaching, intent on destroying everything humanity had built. They claimed genetic purity as their reason for hunting the Aetherians. The irony of saving their victims through genetic merging wasn't lost on him. Have you discussed this with Ambassador Lyra? Yes. Sarah's voice softened. She said it was fitting. The Dracari hunt them because they believe species should remain pure and separate. What better way to defy that than to prove strength comes from unity? Helena stood, her decision made. We're going to need every advantage we can get. How soon can you begin? The process is already started. The first volunteers, both human and Aetherian, began treatment this morning. If it works by the time the Dracari arrive. By the time they arrive, Rodriguez finished, they'll find something they've never faced before. A humanity that's not just allied with the Aetherians, but becoming one with them. Outside, the sun was setting over Geneva, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold. Humanity had always feared first contact would mean the end of their species. Instead, they were choosing to evolve, to become something greater than they had been. The Drakari were coming to preserve what they saw as genetic purity. They would find instead a new kind of strength, one born from the voluntary union of two species who chose to face the darkness together. In labs across the globe, the work continued. Quantum resonators grew like crystal gardens. Warships were retrofitted with technology that defied physics, and in secret medical facilities, the first human Aetherian hybrids began to show signs of unprecedented abilities. The stars watched in silence as humanity prepared for war, not just to defend their world, but to prove that true strength comes not from separation, but from the courage to embrace change and unity in the face of extinction. The orbital shipyards above Mars blazed with activity, plasma torches cutting through the darkness as workers rushed to complete the final modifications. Captain Maya Patel stood at the viewport of her command ship, the UES Defiant, watching as the last quantum resonator array was installed along her vessel's hull. Final systems check complete, her XO, James Chen, reported. Quantum field is stable at 99.3% efficiency. We're as ready as we'll ever be. Maya nodded, her dark eyes fixed on the distant stars where their enemy waited. The Drakari fleet had dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kuiper Belt, moving with deliberate slowness toward Earth. They were confident, unhurried, predators who knew their prey had nowhere to run. They were wrong. "Status of Operation Starbridge?" she asked, turning to face the holographic display at the center of her bridge. "All elements in position," James replied. "The Aetherian refugee ships are hidden in the asteroid belt, cloaked by the quantum interference field. The Drakari think they're huddled on Earth, waiting to be captured." Maya allowed herself a small smile. The enemy's arrogance would be their undoing. They assumed humanity would either surrender the Aetherians or attempt a futile defensive action around Earth. They weren't expecting humanity's real plan. "Signal the fleet," she ordered. "Operation Starbridge begins now." Across the solar system, humanity's ships moved into position. They weren't the elegant warships of the Drakari Empire. Many were converted cargo vessels, mining ships retrofitted with weapons, even passenger liners turned into medical evacuation craft. But each one carried something the enemy had never seen before: hope. The first phase began silently, deep in the rings of Saturn. Automated drones activated, broadcasting quantum noise on frequencies matching Drakari communications. Similar devices around Jupiter, Mars, and scattered throughout the asteroid belt joined in, creating a web of interference that would slowly drive the Drakari fleet's commanders mad with uncertainty. "First blood," James murmured as their sensors detected the enemy fleet's formation beginning to waver. The Drakari relied on absolute precision in their movements, their ships coordinated through quantum-entangled networks. Now those networks were failing, forcing them to rely on slower traditional communications. "Launch the Fireflies," Maya commanded. From the dark side of Mars, thousands of tiny craft emerged. Each was barely larger than a human fighter, piloted by hybrid AI systems based on merged human and Aetherian technology. They moved with impossible agility, their quantum resonators creating bubbles of probability chaos that confused enemy sensors. The Drakari response was predictable. They launched their own fighter screens, expecting to swat down these irritating gnats. Instead, the Fireflies disappeared into the asteroid belt, leading their pursuers into a carefully prepared trap. "They're splitting their fleet," James reported with satisfaction. "Battle groups breaking formation to chase our drones." Maya activated the fleet-wide channel. "All ships, execute Phase 2. Remember, we're not trying to win a straight fight. We just need to keep them busy long enough." The UES Defiant led the charge, emerging from behind Phobos with a battle group of 30 ships. They looked pathetically small compared to the massive Drakari warships, but appearances were deceiving. As the enemy opened fire, their quantum-locked weapons met fields of pure probability chaos. Space itself seemed to shiver as the two technologies clashed. Drakari energy beams split into multiple potential states, their effects scattered across probability itself. Some missed entirely, others hit with reduced power, and a precious few found gaps in the quantum shields to strike home. But the human ships gave as good as they got. Weapons designed by Earth's best scientists, enhanced by Aetherian insight, struck at the very foundations of the enemy's defenses. Quantum torpedoes created localized points of uncertainty, forcing Drakari shields to try to lock down dozens of potential states simultaneously. First enemy ship disabled, James called out as a Drakari cruiser's shields collapsed under the quantum assault. Their power grid is experiencing cascade failures. But Maya's attention was elsewhere. While the main battle raged, hundreds of smaller ships were slipping through the chaos, heading for the hidden Aetherian refugee fleet. Operation Starbridge wasn't about winning a conventional battle. It was about buying time for an exodus. Status of the evacuation, she demanded. First wave of refugee ships is away, James reported, using the quantum interference as cover. The Drakari still haven't realized their real quarry is escaping. In the medical bay of the Defiant, Dr. Sarah Chen monitored the vital signs of her most important patients. The first generation of human Aetherian hybrids were proving to be more than anyone expected. Their ability to manipulate quantum states wasn't just technological anymore. It was becoming biological. Their power is growing, she reported to Maya. Each passing hour, their control increases. The Drakari's worst nightmare is coming true. They're not just failing to prevent species from mixing, they're witnessing the birth of something entirely new. The battle continued to rage across the solar system. Human ships darted between asteroids and moons, striking hard and fading away before the enemy could bring their superior firepower to bear. The Firefly drones led Drakari pursuers into carefully prepared ambushes, where mines waited to create bubbles of quantum disruption. But it couldn't last forever. Despite their confusion, despite the brilliance of humanity's tactics, the Drakari's technological advantage was telling. One by one, Earth ships began to fall. Defiant, this is Generator Station Alpha. A voice crackled over the command channel. The quantum interference field is starting to degrade. We can't maintain it much longer. Maya checked the status of the evacuation. 2/3 of the Aetherian ships had escaped, carrying with them the seeds of their species' renewal. But the rest? All ships, execute contingency Omega, she ordered, her voice steady despite the weight of the command. We knew this moment might come. Make it count. Across the battlefield, human vessels that had suffered critical damage turned toward the nearest Drakari ships. Their quantum resonators were overloaded, creating expanding spheres of pure chaos that dragged both hunter and prey into uncertainty. Final wave of refugee ships awaiting jump clearance, James reported, his voice tight with tension. They need 3 more minutes. Maya watched as another human ship sacrificed itself, its dying action taking 2 Drakari cruisers with it into quantum oblivion. The price was beyond heavy, but they had achieved what everyone said was impossible. They had bloodied the nose of the most powerful empire in known space. Signal the fleet, she ordered. Begin final withdrawal. All ships form up on the Defiant. We're going to give our friends the time they need, whatever it costs. As her ship moved to make its final stand, Maya thought about the message they were sending to the galaxy. The Drakari had expected to find primitive humans cowering behind their Aetherian allies. Instead, they found something they had never encountered before, a young species willing to risk everything to protect their friends. The stars watched in silence as humanity proved that true strength wasn't measured in technology or territory, but in the courage to stand against impossible odds for what was right. The real war was just beginning. The skies above Earth burned. Admiral Helena Santos watched from her command center deep beneath the Rocky Mountains as the Drakari's main fleet arrived, their ships blotting out the stars like a swarm of metal locusts. Operation Starbridge succeeded beyond expectations, Commander Rodriguez reported, his hologram flickering with interference from the ongoing quantum battles above. 87% of Aetherian refugees successfully evacuated. But the cost? Helena nodded grimly. Nearly a third of Earth's fleet had been lost buying time for the evacuation. The survivors were scattered across the solar system, regrouping for what everyone knew would be an even harder fight. "What's the status of Project Renaissance?" she asked, referring to the human-Aetherian hybrid program. Dr. Sarah Chen's hologram appeared beside Rodriguez's. She looked exhausted but triumphant. "The first generation has exceeded all projections. They're not just surviving, they're evolving. The merger of human adaptability with Aetherian quantum sensitivity is creating capabilities we never imagined." On her screen, Helena watched as a young hybrid, barely 16, demonstrated their abilities. The teenager's skin shimmered with silvery patterns as they manipulated quantum fields with their mind, creating localized areas of probability distortion without any technological assistance. "How many combat-ready?" 43. Sarah answered. "But they're not weapons, Helena. They're children. They're volunteers," Helena corrected gently. "And right now, they might be our best hope for survival." Above them, the Dracari began their assault. But this time, they weren't facing a scattered defense. Earth had used the time bought by Operation Starbridge well. "Activate the Aegis network," Helena commanded. Around the planet, thousands of satellites hummed to life. Unlike the previous quantum interference field, this was something entirely new, a merger of human ingenuity and Aetherian wisdom. The satellites began generating overlapping fields of quantum uncertainty, creating a shield that turned the very fabric of space into a defensive weapon. The Dracari's first bombardment met this field and shattered into countless probable outcomes. Some shots missed entirely, others hit with reduced power, and some simply ceased to exist as probability itself rebelled against their passage. "They're adapting," Rodriguez warned, "changing their weapon frequencies, trying to find gaps in the network." "Of course they are," Helena smiled. "That's exactly what we wanted them to do." She activated the command channel to all Earth forces. "Operation Prometheus is go. Show them what humanity does best." Across the solar system, the scattered survivors of Earth's fleet began to move. But they weren't alone. From hidden bases on Mars, from the dark side of the Moon, from camouflaged stations in the asteroid belt, new ships emerged. They weren't the elegant vessels of before. These were brutal, practical machines built for one purpose. "The Dracari think they know our capabilities," Helena explained as the enemy fleet reacted with visible confusion to the new threat. "They analyzed our ships during Operation Starbridge, adapted to our quantum resonator technology. But humanity's greatest strength has always been our ability to learn from failure and improvise." The new ships carried weapons that looked crude compared to Dracari technology. Railguns the size of skyscrapers, missiles packed with quantum-destabilized antimatter, and devices that defied conventional physics. Each one was a testament to humanity's talent for turning theory into apocalyptic reality. "First wave, engage," Helena ordered. "Show them why you don't back humanity into a corner." The battle that followed would be studied by military historians for centuries to come. Earth's ships fought with desperate creativity, using tactics that no species with centuries of formal military doctrine would ever consider. They turned asteroids into weapons, used the sun's gravity to slingshot attacks from impossible angles, and demonstrated why humans had survived countless near extinctions on their homeworld. In the midst of the chaos, the human-Aetherian hybrids made their debut. Small ships, crewed by beings who could sense and manipulate quantum fields naturally, darted between the massive Dracari vessels. They didn't need complex technology to disrupt enemy shields. Their very existence was an affront to the laws of physics as the Dracari understood them. "The enemy fleet is splitting," Rodriguez reported with satisfaction. "They're losing formation cohesion. Our quantum attacks aren't just disrupting their communications anymore. They're affecting their ability to think clearly." Sarah's research had revealed something extraordinary about the Dracari. Their obsession with genetic purity had led them to engineer their own minds to operate with quantum precision. It made them incredibly efficient, but it also made them vulnerable to the chaos humanity was unleashing. "Launch the Firefly swarms," Helena commanded. "All ships, execute attack pattern Omega." The battle reached a new level of intensity. Human ships deliberately created quantum interference zones, forcing Drakari vessels to either retreat or suffer the effects of probability breakdown on their own crews' minds. The hybrids turned these zones into weapons, shaping them into templates of pure chaos that ate through enemy shields like acid through paper. But the Drakari weren't the most powerful empire in known space for nothing. Their counterattack was devastating. Earth ships died by the dozen, their sacrifices buying time and position for their fellows. The Aegis network began to show signs of strain as the enemy deployed new weapons designed to stabilize quantum fields by brute force. "We're losing the outer defense line," Rodriguez reported grimly. "They're adapting faster than predicted." Helena watched as another human ship died to take out a Drakari cruiser. The casualties were horrific, but they were achieving something unprecedented. They were forcing the most powerful military force in the galaxy to fight on humanity's terms. "Send the signal," she ordered. "Tell the colonies to begin Phase 2. Across the solar system, hidden facilities activated. Humanity had learned one vital lesson from their history. Never keep all your eggs in one basket. While Earth drew the enemy's attention, the real work of ensuring their species' survival continued elsewhere. The Drakari thought they could exterminate the Etherians to preserve genetic purity, Sarah observed, watching the battle unfold. Instead, they've forced us to evolve faster than any natural process could achieve. Even if they win today, they've already lost their real war. The future belongs to those who can adapt and cooperate, not those who cling to rigid purity." Helena nodded, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. The next few hours would determine whether humanity would live to see that future. But they had already achieved something remarkable. They had proven that a young species, barely out of its cradle, could stand against the greatest power in the galaxy. Not through superior technology or overwhelming force, but through the uniquely human traits that had brought them out of the caves and into the stars: creativity, determination, and the unshakable conviction that no power in the universe had the right to dictate the course of their evolution. The battle raged on, a testament to humanity's refusal to submit to tyranny. The stars themselves seemed to watch in wonder as the children of Earth fought with everything they had, proving that sometimes the strongest steel is forged in the hottest fire. The war for tomorrow had begun. The command center's air felt thick with tension as Admiral Helena Santos studied the tactical display. Earth's outer defense line had collapsed, the Aegis network was failing, and the Drakari fleet was pressing their advantage with mechanical precision. But in her eyes, there was not defeat, only calculation. "They're following the exact attack pattern we predicted," she noted, her voice steady. "The Drakari's greatest weakness is their inability to deviate from proven strategies." Dr. Sarah Chen's hologram nodded. "Their quantum-engineered minds make them incredibly efficient, but also predictable. They literally can't think outside their established patterns without experiencing severe psychological distress. Then it's time to show them something their patterns never accounted for." Helena opened a secure channel to all Earth's remaining forces. "All units, execute Operation Pandora." Across the solar system, humanity's true plan began to unfold. The scattered remnants of their fleet weren't retreating in chaos. They were moving with purpose, drawing the Drakari into carefully prepared killing grounds. But the real surprise waited in Earth's upper atmosphere. "Activate the GAIA system," Helena commanded. Deep beneath the planet's surface, in hardened bunkers and hidden facilities, hundreds of quantum processors spun up to full power. These weren't conventional computers. They were hybrid systems, designed by human engineers working alongside Etherian scientists and the first generation of hybrid children. "GAIA online," Sarah reported. "Quantum field coherence at maximum. The human-Aetherian hybrid pilots are linking now. On screens throughout the command center, a new kind of battle began to unfold. The hybrid pilots, their bodies enhanced by both genetics and technology, reached out with their minds through the GAIA network. They weren't just controlling ships or weapons, they were reshaping the fundamental forces of reality around Earth. The first Drakari ship to encounter this new defense simply ceased to exist, not through violence or destruction, but through probability itself. One moment it was there, the next it had never been. The quantum-engineered minds of its crew couldn't handle the paradox, and in their confusion, they chose non-existence over chaos. "My God," Rodriguez whispered, "they're not just manipulating quantum fields anymore. They're rewriting local reality." Sarah's expression was both proud and concerned. This is what happens when you combine human creativity with Aetherian quantum understanding. We're not just fighting their ships, we're fighting the very rules they built their empire on. The Drakari response was predictable. They launched an all-out assault, trying to overwhelm Earth's defenses through sheer firepower. But their weapons, designed to operate on precise quantum principles, encountered something they were never meant to face: human chaos theory weaponized through Aetherian science. The hybrid pilots, working through the GAIA network, turned space itself into a weapon. Probability fields collapsed and expanded, creating zones where Drakari technology simply couldn't function. Their quantum-locked weapons fired into void spaces that shouldn't exist. Their communications encountered temporal echoes that drove their engineered minds to the brink of madness. But the true masterstroke was yet to come. "Launch the Promethean Protocol," Helena ordered, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's future. From hidden bases around the solar system, a new kind of weapon emerged. They weren't ships or missiles. They were man-made quantum singularities, each one carefully engineered to resonate with the Drakari's own technology. As they approached the enemy fleet, they began to sing. The Drakari based their entire civilization on quantum perfection, Sarah explained as the effects began to manifest. Their ships, their weapons, their very minds are engineered to maintain absolute quantum coherence. But they never considered what would happen if that coherence was turned against them. The Singularity song was pure mathematics, a harmony of quantum states that forced the Drakari's technology to confront its own fundamental assumptions. Their ships began to experience cascade failures as their quantum-engineered systems tried to maintain coherence in the face of orchestrated chaos. "They're retreating," Rodriguez reported, disbelief evident in his voice. "The main fleet is actually falling back." But Helena wasn't celebrating yet. "Status of the hybrid pilots." "Holding steady," Sarah answered, though her concern was evident. "The neural load is immense, but they're supporting each other through the network. They're not just fighting as individuals. They're fighting as a single consciousness, human determination merged with Aetherian wisdom." The battle reached its crescendo as the Drakari fleet commander made one final desperate push toward Earth. Their remaining ships formed up for a suicide run, hoping to overwhelm the defenders through sacrifice, a concept they had never truly understood until this moment. "All units, stand firm," Helena ordered. "Show them what sacrifice really means." The hybrid pilots responded as one. Through the GAIA network, they reached out not just with technology or genetics, but with something the Drakari had engineered out of their species centuries ago: empathy. They forced the enemy to feel the consequences of their actions, to experience the pain and fear they had inflicted on countless species. The effect was devastating. Ships began to break formation as their crews experienced emotions their engineered minds couldn't process. Some simply shut down, their quantum-perfect minds unable to reconcile the chaos of genuine feeling. Others turned on each other, their certainty shattered by the first real doubt they had ever known. "They're running," Rodriguez announced, his voice thick with emotion. "The main fleet is in full retreat." Helena watched as the remnants of the Drakari force flowed into faster-than-light travel, leaving behind the wreckage of their perfect order. Humanity had won not through superior firepower or technology, but by forcing the enemy to confront the very thing they had tried to engineer away, the beautiful chaos of life itself. "Send word to the colonies," she ordered, "and get me a channel to the Aetherian refugee fleet. Tell them it's safe to begin Phase 3. As the adrenaline of battle faded, Sarah's hologram looked troubled. "They'll be back, you know. This defeat will force them to evolve, to adapt. Next time, they'll be ready for our tricks." Helena smiled, a fierce expression that held all of humanity's defiance. "Good. Because next time, we'll be ready too. That's the difference between us and them. We don't run from evolution. We embrace it." Above them, the hybrid pilots began to disengage from the GAIA network, their minds forever changed by the experience of fighting as one consciousness. They were living proof of humanity's greatest strength, the ability to change, to grow, to become something more than they were. The stars watched in silence as Earth began to rebuild, its people forever changed by their brush with extinction. They had faced the greatest power in the galaxy and emerged not just victorious, but transformed. The future would bring new challenges, but humanity had proven something important. In a universe of rigid order and engineered perfection, their greatest weapon was the courage to embrace chaos and change. 1 year after the Battle of Earth, the observation deck of the United Earth Space Station, Unity, hosted an unprecedented gathering. Representatives from both humanity and the Aetherian refugees stood together, watching as the first joint colony ships prepared to depart for the stars. Dr. Sarah Chen stood beside Ambassador Lyra, their appearances a striking contrast that told the story of everything that had changed. Sarah remained fully human, while Lyra's silver skin now bore subtle patterns that marked her as one of the first adults to undergo the hybridization process. "Did you ever imagine this outcome?" Lyra asked, her luminescent eyes tracking the ships as they moved into formation. "When you first received our distress signal?" Sarah smiled, remembering that moment that seemed a lifetime ago. "Honestly, we expected first contact to be our end. Instead, it became our beginning." The ships gathering above Earth weren't just colony vessels. They were the physical embodiment of a revolutionary idea. Each one carried crews of humans, Aetherians and hybrids, all working together to establish new homes among the stars. But more importantly, they carried something the Dracari Empire had never expected: hope. Commander Rodriguez joined them, his uniform bearing the new insignia of the United Earth Aetherian Defense Force. Latest intelligence reports confirmed the Dracari are still in disarray. "Our victory did more than defeat their fleet. It shattered their certainty." "Good." A new voice joined them. Helena Santos, now Supreme Commander of Earth's combined forces, stepped onto the observation deck. A little uncertainty might be exactly what they needed. The aftermath of the battle had brought changes no one could have predicted. The Dracari Empire, faced with the first major defeat in their history, had begun to fracture. Reports filtered in of worlds breaking away, of younger Dracari questioning the doctrine of genetic purity that had driven their civilization for millennia. "The hybrid program exceeded all projections," Sarah reported, bringing up a holographic display of medical data. "The 4th generation is showing abilities we barely understand. They're not just manipulating quantum fields anymore. They're intuiting new laws of physics we never imagined. And more importantly," Lyra added, "they're teaching us how to see the universe in new ways. My people thought we understood quantum mechanics, but through human eyes, we're discovering layers of complexity we never noticed." The station's windows suddenly darkened as a flash lit up Earth's upper atmosphere. A new quantum beacon array was coming online, part of the planet's enhanced defense network. But unlike the weapons that had driven back the Dracari, these devices were designed to reach out, to connect, to explore. "The first deep space expeditions launch tomorrow," Rodriguez said, checking his datapad. 3 ships, each one carrying the best of both our species. They'll establish the first colonies beyond our solar system." "And the Dracari?" Helena asked, though her tone suggested she already knew the answer. Some of their younger generation have actually requested asylum, Lyra answered, her voice carrying a note of wonder. They want to study our hybridization program. It seems our victory showed them another path, one where strength comes from adaptation rather than rigid purity. Sarah moved to another window, where Earth hummed like a blue jewel against the black of space. The planet bore subtle scars from the battle, orbital debris that would take years to clear, areas where quantum weapons had left their mark on the upper atmosphere. But like the species that called it home, Earth had endured and adapted. We've started receiving signals from other species, Rodriguez added, the ones who stayed neutral during our fight with the Drakari. They want to open diplomatic relations now that we've proven ourselves. Of course they do. Helena's voice held a touch of irony. Nothing attracts attention like standing up to a bully and winning. But we'll remember who our real friends are. On the main view screen, data streamed in from research stations across the solar system. The hybridization program had sparked a renaissance in human science. Quantum physics, biology, consciousness itself. Every field was being revolutionized by the merger of human intuition and Etherian knowledge. The Drakari thought they could preserve their perfection by remaining pure and separate, Sarah mused. They never understood that real perfection isn't a state, it's a process. Evolution, adaptation, growth, these aren't weaknesses to be engineered away. They're the source of true strength. A small group of hybrid children ran past the observation window, their skin shimmering with quantum patterns as they laughed and played. They were the future, not just of humanity or the Aetherians, but of a new way of thinking about species and civilization itself. We have a saying on Earth, Helena said, watching the children. The strongest steel is forged in the hottest fire. The Drakari tried to burn us, but instead they helped us become something greater than we could have become alone. Lyra finished. Below them, Earth continued its eternal dance around the sun. But now it was more than just humanity's cradle. It was a symbol of hope for every species that believed in the power of unity over division, of adaptation over stagnation. The first colony ships began their faster-than-light jumps, disappearing in flashes of quantum fire. They carried with them not just people and supplies, but an idea that the universe's greatest strength lies not in maintaining perfect order, but in embracing the chaos of growth and change. Ready for the ceremony? Rodriguez asked, checking the time. Sarah nodded. In the station's main hall, representatives from Earth and the former Etherian refugees waited to sign a historic document, the Articles of Union, formally binding their species together not just as allies, but as partners in evolution itself. As they walked to the ceremony, Sarah thought about the message they were sending to the galaxy. The Drakari had intended to make an example of Earth, to show what happened to those who defied their vision of genetic purity. They had succeeded, but not in the way they intended. Instead, they had shown the galaxy something far more powerful, that when faced with extinction, the right choice isn't to hide behind walls of purity, but to reach out, to adapt, to become something new and wonderful together. The stars watched in silence as humanity took its first steps into a future they had chosen, not one of isolation and stagnation, but of unity, growth, and endless possibility. The price of friendship had been high, but the rewards were beyond measure. The story of Earth's stand against the Drakari Empire would be told for generations across the galaxy, not just as a tale of military victory, but as proof that true strength comes not from maintaining perfect order, but from having the courage to embrace change and grow stronger together. The future belonged to those brave enough to evolve.